The Share Pickers Weekend Podcast with Justin, Paddy, Peter and Steve. The content of this podcast is not intended as investment advice. It is for information purposes only. People in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Welcome to the Weekend Podcast. I'm joined by Steve.
Hello.
That's it, Steve. You know,
just me.
Just the two of us. I said, it's been like an awkward date, Just me and you sitting up here, facing each other.
Pad's not very good at organising his life, is he? He's
Paddy went. He went to the Ukraine to fight last week. And now Pete's gone to join him. Well, he's not going to join him. Paddy forgot his wallet, so he said, "Pete, can you bring it over?" So that's nice. Pete's going to a war zone just to give Paddy's wallet because he's got some stuff in there. Something. But I know. I did push this podcast back an hour, so I suppose that's thrown Paddy here. But we haven't seen Paddy for ages.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
I'm wondering, he's got a new girlfriend.
That's definitely a relating factor, isn't it?
Yeah. But I also think that she's killed him and she's just texting saying, "No, I can't make it this week."
That's a good point. We haven't actually heard from him, have we? Yeah. So many messages.
Yeah, we got his. She's got his phone. She's just pretending Paddy's still alive for everyone. I wonder how long she can get away with that for. How long can you keep up the pretense that you've buried your boyfriend under the patio somewhere?
Maybe we should ask for a picture of today's newspaper of him holding it.
Yeah, Paddy would look really odd. Like, have you seen the weekend at Bernie's? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So waving, just shaking his hand. It's worth watching that. Yeah, it's exactly like a weekend at Bernie's. Paddy's actually a stiff, and she's pretending he's still alive. He's standing him at the window and stuff, waving at the neighbours. Cool. So, this week the market's been so hard. I can't remember being ever this hard for micro caps, small caps. But I mean,
do you know what? You say that, and it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? It doesn't seem to get any better.
I know. Well, do you know what? Last 10 months, I've never really been physically beaten up. Never had a good kick in ever. But I can imagine, emotionally and mentally, this is what it's like in the markets. It's like every day. It's like being back at school and having a school bully. And that he's picked on you a couple of times, but he changes people who he picks on. And so the market is like that. The market at the moment is like a bully. You wake up in the morning, the market opens, and it's like going into school as a kid thinking, "Oh, I wonder if I'm going to be picked on today by the bully." Trying to avoid it. And even if it's a flat day, even if you manage to miss the bully, it's just like, "Oh, that's good. Didn't beat me up today." But this week, it was like the equivalent. And I did say this on the weekly webinar, the Share Pickers Investment Club. I said, it's essentially this week was like, on the same day, it was like someone giving you an ice cream and then someone kneeing you in the balls, same day. Because Trufin and Gfinity came out with news. Trufin was excellent news, and Gfinity was a kick in the balls. So what was your reaction to this, Steve? I mean, it's nice because it's just me and you here. It's nice to get, because obviously you're a sort of passive, occasional investor, you look at stuff. I mean, how active are you? What's your thoughts on the Gfinity thing?
Do you know what? In this market, I was speaking to some friends about this. I was like, who obviously aren't in it, and I was like, I was saying about these two companies that one released bad news, one released good news, and I was like, you know what? The bad news wasn't horrendously bad, and that one went down by 48%, and the other one was really good news, and it went up by 15%, and then it pulled back by 10% the next day, or whatever, 8%, and you're like, that just shows what the markets are doing at the moment. Because if it was the other way around.
Yeah, be nice.
It's like, yeah, exactly. But for some reason, like a little bit of bad news, like it'll tank, and then really good news is like, because the market is so bad at the moment, you just get a little bit of a profit, and then because people are just so scared at the moment, they then take profit out of that, I guess. And it just pulls straight back again. You're like, come on, it's like, I know. Yeah, it's just annoying, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? That's spot on. In a bull market, of course, if those two companies had released two bits of news, it probably would have been close to being the other way around. I mean, Trufin should have jumped like 20-30% on that. And Gfinity, the figures were good. I want to go through that first, because the figures for GDM, and I've explained this on video, you have to look under the hood of Gfinity, because there's three parts of the business. And the business they've developed, and it will be the main centre, the main driver of the revenue, which is the digital media business, was cracking. The growth was amazing. I mean, they did the same revenue in 6 months that they did entire 12 months last year. So they did 1.6, and it's growing by, let me just get the figures up, because they're all double-digit figures. And this is the part of the business they will be championing. It won't be the old side, which had the delay.
I admit I did exactly the same as what Pete did, because Pete messaged us in the morning when the RNS came out, and I'd already read it about that point as well. He said, cracking news from Gfin. And I was like, yeah. And then you came back going, they're doing a fundraise and it's going to tank today. And I was like, hang on. And I genuinely thought, as Pete did, I was like, are you literally...
Yeah, scroll down. Just scroll down a bit further.
I just thought you were joking. And I went back to it, and at the end I was like, oh, I should have gone right to the bottom, because it was right at the bottom, wasn't it?
Yeah. So essentially, right, so if you focus on GDM, that'll be, right now, it only makes up about, 30%, I suppose, in fact, 50%, but it will be making up some 50%, 45, 50% of the business going forward. It's high margin, it's very scalable, you know? That means all they have to do is create these sort of websites within their gaming ecosystem. You know, the ball ache is in setting them up, but it's not hard to set up a website or acquire one. And then they bring it into the fold. And of course, it works, it synergizes with other websites as well, because they can do advertising campaigns, cost a lot, so they can charge more. And like I said, look at the revenues just for GDM, right? 1.6 million, up 62% on last year. I mean, like I said, that's equivalent to what they did 12 months last year. It was only created in May 2020. And I said, you know, the old Gfinity model pre-John Clark was the esports services. This provides, you know, esports competitions to big brands, which is good for Gfinity's brand, but the margins aren't very good, and it's not very scalable. You imagine you have to put on lots of esport competitions at the same time. It's not very cost effective, because you have to hire people, bring people in. It's a lot of physical stuff. But with the media side, it's scalable. It's just websites, you know, and advertising campaigns. So they did gross profit of 1 million there, up 43%. Margins there are 62.5%. In the other part of the business, the old business, it's like about, you're lucky to get about 20% margins. And look at this. I think it's amazing. So they're looking for 100 million users across right now. They've gone from nothing pretty much up to 16 million, but they're growing it. But there's two parts of that. There's the amount of eyeballs on pages and the cost you can charge. And they've gone from 4 pence annualized revenue per user to 23 pence in 2 years. So it's going in the right direction. They're a record month in February. So it's like you know, it was happening last year. The record month in February, figures are growing all the time. Isn't
it weird that people just can't see through these RNSs? I don't know, it's just because of what's going on at everything in the world at the moment, why it drops so much. But it's just I'm not
people
sure.
People are scared, though. People are scared.
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Cause, why would you sell out at that price? You know, it's just you still look at the business and you go, exactly. It's crazy. You're literally just losing money by selling out. It's just doesn't make sense at all.
No, I know, but do you know what? That's why institutional investors tend to make money. Private investors don't, because it's very personal to them, of course. With an institutional investor, of course, they can hold about 100 companies. If one takes a knock, they'll read it. It won't bother them too much, because it doesn't take much of their portfolio. So they'll take a knock. It's not their money either. So, you know, it's not a thing. So they'll sit there, look at it, say, oh, it's not too bad. It's all right. Maybe get an update from the actual CEO himself. And, and it'll reassure them. Fine. They'll hold on. You know, they may even buy more in the placing that's happening. So they're happy. With private investors, of course, very personal, very emotional. They jump out at the bottom. I had Megan this week, right, bartering with me. This is what happened.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
To buy her stocks off her. She's in the same stocks I'm in, right? I'm investing there for the kids, right? And so got to the stage where we had a pitch to the kids about their money in the stocks. So basically, Megan, so you got a 2-minute pitch to say whether you should keep the money in the stocks or we should sell it and just have it.
I'd love to have watched this.
So the kids sitting down, sat on the sofa, and I did my 2-minute pitch. Megan
I love this.
I know. And guess who the kids went with?
Yeah, of course they went with Megan.
No, with me.
Wow, okay.
I said, Megan, there are people on Twitter, there are people in the club, you know, jittery about the prices. I said, boys, listen, do you want that money now, right? It's a decent-sized chunk for you. They can't spend it now. It'll be in their bank.
That's a stupid thing to ask kids, isn't it? Do you want the money now? Because most kids would go, yeah, I want it now. I'm going to buy myself a new Xbox.
Yeah, no, but the funny thing was, I said, or do you? It's like someone saying to you, I said, I'll give you £10 for that now, okay? Or you can have £50 in a couple of years' time. What do you prefer? And also, along the process, boys, I said, these stocks, they are a new style of stocks. the beginning, they're starting to become profitable. That's when they start generating real value. Give them a couple of years of that, and there'll be multiples of where they are. And not only that, I said, we can learn about stocks and shares along the way. We'll do weekly podcasts, and I'll tell you about what's happening with the companies. And not only that, in a few years' time, hopefully, some of those will be paying dividends, so you'll be getting income as well. Right now, I said, the market is awful. You've seen the news. I said, there's war on. We've gone through a pandemic. There's worry of inflation. There's worry of recession, stagflation. The market is close to a bottom. You do not sell at the bottom. That's where you lose money. There's no point selling. Yeah. I'm
impressed your kids have actually gone with you on that, because I think the average child probably would have just gone, I want the money now.
Well, I did say that at the end. I said, and listen, boy, one thing. People who don't make money in the market sell right here, okay? And there's lots of people who don't make money in the market. It's not easy. I said, it's not as hard as it has been. It's normally not this hard. But if you're good and you want to make money, you don't sell on big dips. It doesn't work. So they think, kids are saying, oh, I'm not the average, I'm a bit better than that,
So what was Megan's sell then? I want to know what she said.
Did you want, they said, we put this amount of money in, it's gone down by this amount. Do you want to take it out now before it goes down even further? And so I said, but no, but I've always said to them, though, I said, listen, that's the boys, people lose money because they get it. You don't lose money if you don't sell. If the business is improving, you don't, just because the stock market is a general seller. And let's be honest, microcaps, they've all sold off. I mean, Gfinity had a big knock this week, but I mean, if it was deteriorating the business, I'd worry, but it's not. They'd released the GDM figures on its own, right? And also now, you have to understand this, is a moving dynamic. So when a share price goes down, the market cap of the company goes down, the valuation goes down. But then on the same sort of decent, on the same sort of figures revenue, it becomes more of a bargain. Right now, if you look at for GDM on its own, right? So it did 1.2 million, that's excluding Stock Informer. Add Stock Informer is 1.6. So basically, roughly together, on average, per month, they're doing around about 314k per month. Over 12 months, that's 3.8 million. Now, peer group averages for digital media companies are like 5 times sales before their pre-revenue. That's how they're valued. So if you do that, so 5 times pretty much 3.8. That's worth now more than Gfinity as a whole. Then you've got the esports business. Then you've got the Abu Dhabi JV esports competitions hookup and everything else, and the technology. The technology platform is going to be another main driver. So at the moment, do you know what's odd? It's like this is coming out now. This will be a massive driver. So they've got They can only put on so many esports competitions, and also they're quite capital intensive. You have to employ a lot of money people to do that. But they've got this tech platform, which big companies are using on a white label. Now, let me scroll down to it. Scroll down, there we go. Okay, the key strategic focus in this division has been the productization of Gfinity's technology platform, so that it can be integrated directly into publishers' games and media owners' websites and licensed under software as a service model. That's very good. Investors pay up for that kind of model because it's recurring revenue. It's long-term contracts. It's not big, chunky, one-off payments. Then it stops for you. It's like, for example, your the people you work for, Steve, rather than giving you one-off chunk of money here, they just basically have you on a retainer constantly for over 3 years. So imagine having 10 clients, they're all paying you on a monthly basis. It smooths out your revenue, doesn't it? It's more predictable, So they're going to do that, but this is achieved without the extensive need for integration. And you think, well, okay, how do they know this is going to work, right? First of all, 3 of the largest mobile phone game titles featured this tech software, their tech software, and they played with more than 50,000 participants around the world. So it's the proof of concept is done, and now they're going to do that. And for example, it's been used by Formula One, e-Formula One, e-Premier League. It's been used by all those people, but attached to them, giving their services as well. But now they can just do that, so they can supply that to any esports competition around the world, and it's very accurate. It's one of the market leaders tech-wise, and that again is hugely scalable. So you've got 1/3 of the business right now, which is GDM, that's worth the value of the entire group.
Yeah.
And people say, why did it happen? It's so wrong. Why did it happen? Because I tell you why it happened. So they had massive growth targets out there, the broker, like 78% this year. And I kept thinking, it's a bit optimistic that. They're going from 5.7 million last year to 9.4 million. And if they miss one of those, revenue streams or one of the contracts or delays or something, which did happen, they could take a big knock. And that's what happens. So what happens if you're going to miss guidance on top line, then it comes down to the Nomad, which is nominated advisor, said, right, if you're going to miss on revenue and profits, you have to provide a cash update. How much cash do you have? Do you have enough cash to get 12 months runway? Because if you do that, you go going concern. And they said, yeah, probably we do. We said, no, probably it's not good enough. You need to be certain you've got enough cash for 12 months. They said, well, if there's no delays, yes, we can do it. We said there could be a delay though. So they had to raise money. And so they had to put that in the RNS with no indicative price. So people, regardless of what you're releasing...
Do you think... Yeah, do you think that's been one of the big, like the fact that no one's knows what the fundraise is going to be? But
yeah,
actually,
exactly.
it could be actually quite a good fundraise, not a bad discount, and actually the benefit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the discount has happened. I said, do you know what? It's going to bounce massively. Do you remember when Polarian sold off like 60%? And it bounced back by 60% next day. So obviously 60% when you've fallen, it's just halfway back up to the fall. But I believe this will have a massive bounce because it's way undervalued compared to any other peers out there. It's growing very quickly. A turnaround takes years. And I did say, in the Gfinity, people associate a fall in price with a failing business, and it's not the case. It is not the case. And if you look at, let me just find this thing, the stats on companies that have fallen. There you go. And it doesn't just happen to, small companies. It can happen a lot. Where's it? There you go. Volatility in the market is normal, even for the most well-known stocks. From peak to trough, Apple lost over 70% of its value 3 times during the stock's history, while Amazon has fallen by 90% on occasion. Facebook has lost more than 40% of its value during 2 months in 2012. They are big, multi-billion and trillion cap companies. So it happens everywhere now and again. But you zoom out, of course, over time, and I said we're in the midst of it now, and it takes a big knock. But I said as soon as there was no price, no one knew exactly what the placement was going. So people think in this market, worst case scenario, it's going to be like a ridiculous price. And thing is, the placement we've done normally around about where it's going to close over the last few days. Not far, maybe a bit of a discount from that. But because it dropped by 50%, of course, the placement price is going to be around this level now. So it's cheap, and the biggest worry they have is funding. That's going to be solved, probably by Monday, and then they can. And they said, even in the RNS, they've stated publicly many times, profitability 2023. We are in the second half of their financial 2022 because their financial year ends in June. So I think this will fly. It's one of the only companies, esports companies, on the pathway to profitability, and that being very close. And if you look at what they pay, in fact, John came on the podcast and he was saying there's 2 esports companies just been sold recently, and they are being valued, I think, way above 15 times sales. Like Gfinity right now, they are on 2 times sales. So it's like that's their valuation. They're going to do about 6-7 million this year, and they're valued at 14 million. So just over 2 times sales, plus with cash they'll have, and they'll have cash. So people I think who know the company and have spare cash, it's a bargain here. It's just the worry of it. So so I'm not worried. So it's gutting because this is where we sort of got in at this level like 2 years ago, but that happens. Like, turnarounds don't happen overnight. They take a while. John's been in there turning around, and it's not a smooth business. You have to sort of ratchet one part of the business down, and you have to try and transition smoothly from that revenue stream to this revenue stream. It's not going to happen. You can't smoothly go from one business to another without having any dip in revenues and profits. It's a hard market. So I know John. John's been on the podcast loads of times. I've chatted with him extensively, and I did say, John, why did you mention the placing in the RNS? Why couldn't you done it previously, beforehand, or because you put up some good figures in there? But
and it ruined the RNS then.
Yeah. So it's like it's basically like having it's a good analogy, Steve. Like having an actor go on a stage, being a good actor, about to perform his best sort of solo or soliloquy, and someone just putting the trap door from underneath him. It's not going to work.
To be honest with you, you could kind of swing that around about because he could have released that, and we could have gone, well, why did you release the bad news with the good news? So it softens the bad news. So it's I guess it could have happened either way, couldn't it? Because he could have done just the fundraise on its own, and it could have tanked by 70%. And then the good news might not have hit his home as well. So you just don't know.
Yeah. It's almost like, do you know what? It's like Imagine having gale force winds, rain going sideways, and you stand at your front door and try to shout to the neighbour, "It's going to be nice weather tomorrow." And she's, "What?" I can't hear you. We are in a bear market. Anything you put out there, unless it's amazing,
it's going to get blown away.
Yeah, exactly. People are not going to hear it. People are not going to hear those figures or see those figures if you just look at the bottom of the RNS. But again, that was the biggest worry, the fear. That'll be removed. It's going to be removed. They'll have enough cash now to get the profitability, and people now will see those figures for what they are. Because the first thing you gravitate towards in an RNS generally is the worst thing. Think, oh my God! Especially in a bear market, you gravitate to the worst bit of news in an RNS. In a bull market, it's the way around. You look at the best bit of news. But so that bad bit of news, the funding, is going to be removed. Now just look at the rest of the the news. It's quite good. But there we are. Yeah, it's gutting. It does feel like today, every day, Mr. Market's going to beat you around the playground a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's worse things going on in the world, Steve. You're put in context. I'm looking at. I did say this in the end of the webinar. I said, listen, it's gutting. It's emotional. It sometimes feels like, I'm knocking this thing on the head. These microcaps. But there's lots of big companies taking big knocks right now, and there are people. Families leaving their home, travelling hundreds of miles across continents to find, hopefully, the home of a stranger. They know no idea where they're going. People with jobs and careers, have no idea where their life is going. And I think, do you know what? A dip in my capital and my portfolio is not a big deal compared to what happened there.
Do you know what? I've had to have a little word with myself a couple of times, like over the last week. You've got to go, in the grand scheme of things, we're actually very privileged to be where we are, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. You tell that one of the people standing on a platform in Berlin with a kid and a baby looking for a home, saying,
and then life in a backpack or a shopping bag.
Yeah, you say, I've had a rough day as well. Gfinity took a knock. It's like, what? Yeah, one of the tech companies I invest in took the knock. It's not his hard work in it. They're with all their belongings in one bag. Yeah, I know. But do you know what I was thinking of Putin? He is a gangster, right? That's the way. He was in the KGB, and he bullied the oligarchs. Got him in there. He bullied them. Took their, and now he doesn't understand any other language apart from the gangster language, and so there's no one talking to them because he lies constantly. It's
amazing though.
I know. I can't believe how much he's made lying. It's
bonkers when you hear the news and like obviously we're only hearing the translations, but you're going. You're literally making stuff up now. Like it's not even like is he telling the truth? Is he not? You go, no, you're literally making stuff up, and it's just bonkers, isn't it? You're the president of one of the biggest country in the world. You're like, it's just crazy.
But the thing is, they've always done this. There's a Russian playbook. It's just basically deny everything, and in fact say the opposite thing of what's happening. So he'll say there's progress going on in talks, and these bombings at hospitals. He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, and they said, no, that hospital wasn't a hospital. It was used by the military." You show pictures of people pregnant, people out there, blood all over them, and kids have died. What are you talking about?
The Ukrainians are cracking at setting a scene, aren't they? Putting these fake actors in with all fake blood on them.
I know. But the thing is, the old Russian propaganda, before the world was fully connected via social media, they can get away with it. Can you imagine before? It was so connected via social media. You just say a press release, people read it and believe Russia's side. Oh, fair play. They wouldn't have bombed because it's so horrific. You think, no, they wouldn't have bombed a hospital unless there was army in there, surely. And then you see pictures and social media video, you think, in fact, that looks like a real version. It doesn't look made up at all. And you start questioning, you realise they are blind liars.
I don't know, obviously it's a war zone, but it just, like, you look at some of the scenes, you go, that just looks like a movie set. That doesn't look real, because it's not like where we used to seeing like pictures in Afghanistan where, they're quite deserty, like war zones. It's like, this is a city. This is, I can relate this to Cardiff, or somewhere in the UK, and you go, and it's just literally been devastated, and you go, that's just, it's crazy.
But the thing is, I say, he's not going to. You can't negotiate with him. He's a liar. So he'll say, "Well, I did laugh." I said, Boris was a liar. He's having an idea with a bigger liar, which is unbelievable. And but he will lie to your face. He'll say, he'll sign. It's like Hitler. He signed an agreement to stop the war and cracked on. They don't care about that. Gangsters don't care about signing documents and all that nonsense. He'll sit there pretending he's going to sign a document, but he'll be bombing places. The only thing a gangster understands is their is actions, not words. And like I said, gangsters only understand one thing: a bullet in the head. That's all they understand. And that's how you stop them, full stop. Or you take you completely strangle them from all sides, and that is what's happening economically. But I just said on Twitter last night, I said, why we're sick to the stomach of seeing these scenes in the Ukraine. There are companies still happy to make profit, putting it before people in Russia. And I think I can't see any justification for any international company now operating in Russia. Why are you doing that? You see what he's doing. You're fueling it.
You can see the not even the smaller companies, like the stranglers, companies,
stragglers, yeah.
Stragglers, yeah, that's what it is. Who are now coming in, going, "Oh yeah, now we're going to pull out." And I'm like, "Well, why haven't you done it 2 weeks ago?" You're like Nestle only pulled out the other day. Who's it pulled out this morning?
Well, Coke was for a long time.
Coke and McDonald's, yeah. Oh, I can't believe the queues in McDonald's in Russia.
Yeah, I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Which actually, I'm kind of glad when you see that. You go, actually, so people really do care about little things like that. So it's all chipping away.
It was a lockdown over here, wasn't it? When McDonald's back up, or there was queues everywhere. I've really, after months and months of lockdowns, the Russians saying, "I'm going to miss a Big Mac. I'm going to get in the queue." Like, what?
You just hope now that, like, slowly, even the people who are like, "Oh no," obviously watching state media in Russia, you kind of think, "Hang on a minute." So is Russia right here, and the rest of the world wrong here? At some point, their common sense has got to prevail and go, right, hang on a minute, I think we're backing the wrong horse here, aren't we?
It's amazing that he's given any outside media. So, to be a successful absolute ruler, you don't allow any media outside of state media. And people in Russia, some of them, obviously, they've been cut off now, but they can get it with VPNs, can't they?
Yeah, well, no, actually, I was just about to come to that. I read a story, was it this morning, yesterday, saying the purchase of VPNs in Russia has gone up by, like, something stupid like 20,000%, because obviously people would go and hang out. We can't see it unless we get a VPN and go to a different country and watch media from outside of Russia.
Yeah. But if you're Russian, you're thinking, okay, who's on their side? And you think America. They may think they're the old enemy. They got the UK, in fact, Germany, France, or in fact most of Europe. Okay, most of Europe. There's always Australia. There's all countries around the world. Who's on our side? Syria. And Belarus. Right. Yeah. I wonder which side we're on, if we're on the goodies or baddies,
Interestingly, like, I know you're the same as you. I've been, like, obsessed by watching it and keeping up to date what's going on in the news. But I've been going around different news, like on Sky, you can obviously watch different. I was even watching Al Jazeera news the other day. Just interested to see how other countries are kind of covering it as well. Outside of America and the UK, and it's pretty much the same, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you see that? I don't know if it's true. The Ukraine defence industry. They've offered rewards to Russian pilots. If you fly your jet, if you're a fighter pilot in a Russian plane, a MiG 2 whatever they are, if you fly that into Ukraine and defect, they'll give you $1 million. Ukraine did a nice promotional video. If you are a Russian pilot and you defect to Ukraine with your jet, they'll give you $1 million. If you're a helicopter pilot, they'll give you $500,000. You fly it over and start fighting with Ukraine. I thought that's an excellent bit of marketing, isn't it?
That's not bad, is it?
I think because Russian pilots are on less than $15,000 a year, so they're offered, just fly your jet into Ukraine space. We can't shoot you down, of course, because there's no.
you imagine leaving Putin. Yeah, we're off to bomb them. Right,
yeah. Like, and then next thing you know, you're on Instagram. Yeah, we'll catch something. Yeah, party in. I know. So I think that's and it is really it's basically a war of social media, isn't it? And the Ukrainians are winning hands down. Absolutely. I'm just thinking, Putin, you're lying again, you fool. Anyway, that was bad news of Gfinity. So Trufin, I spoke with James, the CEO. He's very busy doing lots of meetings, but we're going to do a podcast on Monday. But he's so enthusiastic about it. And he said there's 4 parts to Trufin, okay? And Oxygen, Virtus are profitable. Targo now just done this transfer. And James has said to me, this is the most transformational thing we've ever done. He said, I don't think people understand the deal here. Lloyds Bank has got 30 million customers. They are UK's largest retail bank. So Targo have gone from owning, basically, there's invoice lending software platform, but they've gone using their own book for loans to start up and go. Now they've won that book down, they've transferred for software as a service model, and Lloyds have been doing due diligence on this now for 2 years, right? So they've had 11, and when they applied for this tender process, they had 11 competitors, Targo, and Lloyd said Targo's head and shoulders above the others. So they've signed now, they've done a letter of intent, and that's huge. They're going to take 10, 20,000 customers using this kind of thing. And in fact, Lloyd's has also taken a stake in Otago. That doesn't happen very often.
That just shows the confidence.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
A tier one bank investing in a microcap does not happen. It is the thing of dreams. In fact, one of the guys in the Share Pickers Investment Club, his brother created Otago. And he couldn't get distribution. He said they knew it was. In fact, this week he said they knew it was a brilliant product. He said he knew it was better. Head up to hats off to him. He said we knew it was the best out there, but it takes a long time to get somewhere. To get the funding to keep it going because you need a lot of people working on it. That's the problem with these tech companies. They need a lot of people, a lot of developers, and then you need marketing, you need sales, and it's hard if you've got no cash to start. So it was bought out in the end. He just run out of time and money, energy, but they knew it was going to work, and so he sold it basically. At the start they raised money on Cedars, I think it was. And
do you think Lloyd's behind the scenes tried to do a complete buyout of it?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, so they've. Let me just scroll up here. Let me just see. I'll give the guy a mention there. My brother's. Who's his brother? So Stephen Renwick, hats off to Stephen Renwick. He said, proud to see how, and he posted this, proud to see how well Otago is doing. When Adam Horner and I were working on it, it was clear that our product was streets ahead of any other invoice financing product out there. It was distribution that was our big challenge. Partnering with the big bank was always going to be one of the two ways to gain scalable distribution channel. The other is to integrate directly into B2B. Back in the day, we reskinned the version for Otago for most of the big banks and pitched it to them, but not Lloyd's. It's almost 5 years exactly since we exited Otago. So just goes to show how long it takes for some of these things to bear fruit, especially in the world of alternative finance. Hope Otago continues to go from strength to strength. What a lovely thing to say, though. Now it could be worth a lot of money, but creating this thing and having to hand your baby over, basically, So, and James is so excited about it. He said, and I said to him, actually, he said, do Lloyd's invest in microcap companies? He said, hardly ever. I'll give you an example. The last thing they invested in was a thing called Thought Machine. Okay, it's now worth £1 billion, that company. And he said, and they reckon Otago's got more potential.
Wow.
So he thinks it's going to be a unicorn, basically. He thinks, it's going to go massive. Because this is the dream. If you are Silicon Valley or something like this, or creating a software product, and it's good, and you finally get it into a deal with a tier one, UK's biggest retail bank. There's no better client. And then all of a sudden it takes 2 years. Think, is it going to work? Is it going to? And all of a sudden, yes, they are going to say extended trial. Because the trial was extended. We're going to. They invest $5 million in it, and people said, "Hang on." So I said, "That's cheap, isn't it?" Because they've invested $5 million, giving it a pre-money valuation of $20 million. Now the thing with this is and I likened it to Dragon's Den. I said, but now it's worth a heck of a lot more because Lloyd's are using it, investing in it. And I said, so they've invested $5 million equity. So you imagine me on Dragon's Den, right? So someone comes in with a company, a software company you like, and they pitch, and you think, okay, I'm going to invest in this. You don't offer your money knowing the valuation will go up with you in it, do you? You invest pre-you. But then once the Dragon's involved, that valuation will go up because the Dragon's involved and get distribution, get marketing, all that stuff. Now, times that by 100 for Lloyd's. So they've invested, they've signed a letter of intent, but officially the deal isn't actually done. So they can invest pre-them, being introduced to it, involved with it. And so now the valuation's a lot higher than 20 million. And James said it's worth the value of Trufin on its own. So, and yet again, that's got 3 other parts. That's the business. So
is he coming on the podcast pretty much to see what you just said then?
Monday. No, he's going to go through into lots of things. I had a chat with him, and
I'll be good one to listen to actually.
Yeah, he was so pleased. It's over the line, and I say he had no doubt about it. But Lloyd's been such a big company; it takes a while. They've got a lot of departments, a lot of due diligence. But he said it's almost unheard of Lloyd's take a stake in small companies like this. Just shows the level of, like you said, conviction they have. And then, so it's odd. In fact, 3 companies this week had released some nice bit of news. Getec.
Whichever one's on?
Getec.
Oh, Getec. Oh, I missed that. What did they say?
Agreement to develop a green hydro network across the Highlands. You take the road and I'll take the high road and I'll get to Scotland before ye.
Nice.
That's the Highlands in Scotland. See,
that.
the net zero technology provider and data-led asset manager. Please announce Asia Green signed a memorandum of understanding with the Highland Council, incorporating the local government, which is, by the way, it's good stat there. They're the biggest. I mean, let's get this RNS up. They said the largest administrative unit in the United Kingdom, covering almost a third of Scotland, and of course, there's oil and gas from North Sea, all those areas there. There's lots of wind turbines up there. It's a great area to create green hydrogen. And I don't know if you saw now, the EU and everyone. Let me just get this tweet up.
Do you know? It'd be interesting. I don't know. Do they show places like that? These big wind farms. Do they show how much electricity they lose? Not lose. It becomes waste. Because quite often these wind farms, when it's too windy, they've got to switch half the wind turbines off because they can't literally put the electric anywhere, can they? So this is exactly. So it'd be interesting to see how much of they would have wasted compared to how we've.
Well, why don't you knock up a spreadsheet, Steve, for next week, and we can discuss it. That'd be very interesting. Right, so this one lost 5% of his wind.
Sarcasm there. Shut up, you love a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I do. Do you know what? Do you see this, though? Because of Russia, right, everything's going to accelerate towards green energy.
Yeah, totally. That's the one positive thing that's probably going to come out on this.
Because we're all reliant, on their oil and gas, dirty blood money. That's what it is. So, and I don't know if you noticed this, I released on the same day this came out. So, I mean, EU Commission unveils proposals to further boost renewables and quadruple current 2030 targets for green hydrogen supplies as part of its hastily assembled strategy to cut reliance on Russian gas by 2/3 by the end of the year. 2/3! They're going to cut it by 2/3 by the end of the year. So that's now they're ramping up all. And I said it before, the rise in oil and gas prices is very good for renewables because at the moment, early adoption, of course, in any tech is expensive. You've got to spend a lot of money, a lot of research, and you need scalability to make money, like anything. But at the moment, green tech renewables is quite expensive. But if the price of oil and gas, if the price of a barrel of oil is $140-$150 dollars per barrel, then renewables don't seem as expensive anymore.
Massive. But this is massively backfired on Putin, isn't it?
He's cut himself off here. I mean, I believe, I don't know what's going to happen in Kiev. It may even take it over. But if they do, sanctions won't stop. In fact, they'll be ramped up even more. It'll become a vassal state. It'll become economically bankrupt. They now can't lend money. Their debt rating is junk status. So if they try and borrow money, the government, the interest rate they have to pay on it is massive. The ruble's gone down as well in value anyway. So it'll take a lot more to buy it. So long term, this is very, very bad. I mean, ignoring the humanitarian side, the economic side, they're going to become a pariah state when no one deals with it. They're going to crush themselves. And Putin said, we've been in a communist state before. It's not a problem. We thrived under communism. Okay. So why do you head towards capitalism then? Why do you open up the markets? Why do you become a capital state, if that's the case? It's harder to have had money, isn't it, than go back to being skint. Then if you always live in poverty, you don't expect anything else. But when you come out of poverty as a communist state and go into capitalism and all oligarchs are billionaires on Instagram, yachts, and now you have to go back into the communism, it's not going to work, fella. People are, you're not going to swap your sort of the bouton, whatever they are, shoes for daps with holes in them. It's like, so he's going to crush the state long term. It's really bad for him. So ONG prices go up, right? So renewables become more competitive. It'll accelerate, like we see here now, it'll accelerate governments adopting renewables, becoming independent on their own energy. And thirdly, oil and gas companies know, decarbonisation is happening, so they spend more on renewables. The more profits they make from high oil and gas prices, they spend more on renewables. So the adoption of green energy or green hydrogen and all alternatives, electric vehicles, everything, will go up. Massive. So he really has, killed himself economically. So, he said, no, it doesn't bother me. We get stronger. What are you talking about, you simple idiot?
No, he's deluded, isn't he?
So anyway, on green hydrogen there, they reckon, so they now have, so the broker suggests on each hub they create, Getec, they'll be worth 4.7 million in revenue per year and 1.78 in EBITDA, which is sort of cash pretty much. They have two now in development, two hubs. One of those is with SGN, and that's from an initial review list of 21. And they've recently agreed to progress 3 further sites across the UK. So this is very scalable because they provide their expertise, a consultation, to basically where the best places to put hubs are. They do all these kind of studies, and they get cuts of the projects. So it's capital light. They don't have to invest any money in it. So it's very good. So every hub they sign up is worth 4.7 million revenue, 1.78 in EBITDA. And if in fact, let me look at this. There's a table here. Well, in fact, even if you do 10 hubs, which they've got a list of 21 already, that's 17.8 million in EBITDA. Now, you put that on a multiple of 10, as a valuation metric, that's 178 million. And what's the market cap of Getec? It's 820 million? 20 million, I think it is. So there's massive upside here. And let's be honest, green hydrogen is not going to go away. It's only getting bigger and stronger. More people adopting it. So I like a lot. Yeah,
I'm quite heavily invested in them. So I'm hoping that does as well.
Yeah, but you can only go one way, can't it? I mean, everyone's decarbonised. You've got to. We do realise we have to. I notice they've gone a bit too fast in this country, oil and gas, because now they don't want to buy anything from Putin. They say, maybe we should let some more people apply for licenses, in North Sea again and drill a bit until we can transition. Again, talk about transitioning. A business, turnaround business, transitioning like Gfinity, transitioning to a different business model takes time. Transitioning to a different energy takes time. It's not smooth. It's not smooth. Nothing's smooth when you're transitioning. But anyway, any other stocks, Steve? I mean, any other things you saw? Any news? Anything going on?
No. I'm just looking now. Like XPF has been a bit up and down, isn't it? For no reason whatsoever.
Again,
which has been annoying.
It's so annoying, isn't it?
More down of up.
Yeah. What is this war got anything to do with people going to boom battle bars?
I know, it's crazy. What is that all about?
In the UK, in fact, I posted on Twitter yesterday saying they've got a decent now amount of where's it by? Their portfolio is very good. I mean, looking at escape rooms alone in USA, they've got Houston, Miami. It's going to expand there. Qatar, one there, one in the UAE, in France, to go on in Belfort, Bordeaux, Clermont-Ferrand, La Rochelle, Marseille, Metz, Nancy. Hello, Nancy. Paris, Toulouse, Lille. What else? Netherlands, there's 2 there. Norway, there's 4 there. Portugal, Lisbon. These are all franchises, of course, which is extra margins, no capital thing. In Barcelona, in Spain, in Belgium, and then in the UK, you got Basingstoke, 2 in Birmingham, Bristol, Cheltenham, Edinburgh, Kingston, Lakeside, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, Milton Keynes, Norwich, Oxford, Reading, Waterford. They're everywhere. That's escape rooms. Then you've got Boom Battle Bars, one of the fastest rollouts ever happening. They've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 open taking bookings. They've got another on the website. What's 3 times 4? Another 12 coming soon. And yet this company, they're going to be chucking out what? 30, 25, maybe 20 million in revenue this year. They're going to be profitable, and they are valued. Literally, they got like 10 million in cash, 34 million. If you look at what they operate and what they own, you think, is that all they are? It's 34 million. They're across the world. It's like, that's nuts. I just think it's a general worry about inflation, maybe, or people are not going to go out and spend.
I just think it's bizarre that they're literally. In fact, on Friday it was up by 7%, but it's like it's just been going up and down by like 10%. Like it'll be up, down percent. Yeah, it's like what's going on?
There's not a lot of volume in there, and anyone selling, affects it in this day and age. Market makers just mark it down. They don't want to carry any stock of anything on their books. They'll just say, rip people off, and that's what they. Private investors selling at the bottom. You are selling at the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. And this is one of the pitches I said to my kids. I said, guys, every one of these companies will be worth multiples in a couple of years' time. We may have 1 or 2 may not make it, but it doesn't matter. The other ones will do very, very well anyway. So it'll be a learning experience, just learning about it. You can ask questions, I'll teach you about it. And, essentially these businesses will grow. They're all very scalable. I'm talking, triple-digit market caps in all of them, pretty much. They have the potential to get there. So why would you sell here? Just because there's worry in the market. And if you read that book, 100 Baggers, over and over again, the hardest thing to do is nothing. When you have these really bearish moments in the market, impending World War III, inflation is rife, the hardest thing to do is nothing. But you only discover all you need is one truly outperforming company in your portfolio. And literally, that can pay you for years and years and years, because they can go to dividend paying, you get an income from it. So not only you get the capital upside of, say, a multi-bagger, but you become paying dividends as well, and you get cash from it as well. So you don't need, if you got a stock, say 5-6 stocks, and they're all scalable, done decent research, and the business is growing, all you have to do is hold. These companies aren't yet, not one of them yet has shown a year of profitability, but they will. They'll be getting there. And so once that starts kicking in, then they really start motoring on a valuation level. So
it's interesting though, because a lot of my friends who not the micro caps, but more like Vanguard funds, who have said, people who've just been sat there with money, just not doing anything, and I've said, check it in Vanguard. And even I'm literally getting it from all my friends. A couple of my friends are into a couple of the micro caps. Like one of my friends is into XPF and this other, and they've literally all been messaging me recently, going, "Oh, should we be cashing out?" And I was like, "Have you seen what's been going on in the news?" I was like, "How many times have I told you this is the worst time to sell?" I was like, "Of course you don't."
Yeah, it's that funny.
And it doesn't matter how many times I told them. And like even one of my really closest friends, he literally messages me probably about once a month. Well, no, I speak to him more than that, but he'll message me about stocks and shares about once a month, going, "What's going on? Why is it go so low?" And I'm like, you're like, come on, you've seen the news. It's like, just ignore it. It's like, you're not going to sell it, so just let it ride.
Yeah, but you know what? Things like that, people like that, is that you should say to them, do you know the way you're feeling about wanting to cash out? Why investing is hard is because this is the best time to buy, not sell. But
I've had all these conversations.
Psychologically, it's very hard. Everyone, it's like when everything is flashing red, and the smoke alarms and sirens are going off, it's hard to be calm, isn't it? In fact, it's a good guy, worth looking at, reading about. In fact, podcast, listen to Tim Ferriss' podcast this weekend, Morgan Housel on. And he's a good, economics writer. He talks about the psychology of the market, money and all this. In fact, The Psychology of Money is his book worth reading. But, and Warren Buffett famously says, be greedy when others are fearful when others are greedy. I said, and I tweeted that and said, not so hard, not so easy, this is it. Not as easy as done. Because the thing is, people are generally bullish when the market's high. Everyone's bullish. It's all going to the moon. And they say, oh, this dips, if this market sells off, I'm buying loads of this now. The market sells off on chaos, panic, all that stuff, and then it's not as easy to buy the dip, because you were thinking in a bullish mindset when you said that. I'll buy the dip. You're very in a bullish mindset, but when the market is a seller, no one is bullish. Everyone's bearish. So to go against that flow, that current, it's counterintuitive. Psychologically, it's really hard to do. And so when your friends are calling you, you should say, buy more. Buy more.
To be fair,
in funds, definitely.
To be fair, like one of them did it, like when you were telling me, and he was like, "You're going to tell me to buy more," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, and he's like, "Yeah," but I was like, "Well, it's that's what you should do,
Yeah.
I can't guarantee we won't go any lower at the moment, because we don't know that bloody Putin's going to go and start using nukes, which probably won't help things. But I said, but this is still a great time to buy. Whether it does go down lower, it'll still recover at some point.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's when the old saying, when shops have sales, people run into the shops.
Yeah.
When the stock market has a sale, it comes with fear and worry, so people run away. But this is a discount. This is a sale. The stock markets have sales on bad news, or impending bad news. So this is the time to buy, especially with individual stocks. I would never say to someone, buy the dip, because you have to research the company, understand what's going on, understand they have cash, where they're growing and improving, But with funds like Vanguard, which got probably got 100,000 stocks in it pretty much across the world, you can just buy the dip. It's a no-brainer. Just buy it. It's an over, and if you look at it, if your time horizon, is 5, 10, 20 years, no worries. You look at the chart over 10, 20 years, it's just gone up and up. It's like the stock market. We've gone through world wars. You will have volatility for like a year, 2 years maybe. And in fact, the microcaps have had it for over 12 months now, because it was the end of, end of Q1 last year. It started to go a bit pear-shaped. And then it's been awful since then. They don't last for that long. I think bear markets last 18 months, but then they hit the bottom before that, and they just hang around the bottom for a while, and they start to rise. And microcaps will start doing that. I think any good news on the war, and it'll be like the vaccine day. Remember when all stocks jumped when Pfizer came out with the news of a vaccine? And in fact, COVID's raising its head again, isn't it? But Come on now, we're all pretty much vaccinated. It's not going to be that bad. It's a cold, isn't it? But I think once anything positive comes out of the war, all stocks will have that one big day. They may come back the day after, but then I think that'll be the definite bottom, and that's what we need to. But right now, buy the uncertainty, buy the fear. That's what it is. That's all about the market, especially mates and funds. Buy the fear, buy the uncertainty. All right, let's finish. Let's wrap up there. Do you know what? Did you see the game yesterday, Wales, France?
Yeah. Do you know what? It was a good game to watch, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. But do you know what? A lot of people, I listened to Radio 5 Live this morning, and someone said a lot of people saying Wales played better than France. You know?
In the second half, they were like they kept keeping that ball alive, and I was like, wow, there was some cracking play, wasn't it?
Yeah. I thought to myself, really, technically, can you play better than a team and lose? Because the end result is the only stat that matters, isn't it? It's like, so I thought, no, I think always the measure of a quality side is like France, is even when you put the pressure on them, and it happens with people like New Zealand a lot, the All Blacks, even when you beat them, operationally on the field, you can't seem to get the points, So, France, they were very scared first 10 minutes. I thought, wow, this side is good. We're going to get a drubbing here. And then fair play, Wales hung in there and battled all the way through it.
To be fair, Wales were taking some risks, weren't they? And actually, if all they needed is one of those drop kicks, to kind of play work, and they would have won that, wouldn't they? Because they were only one try away from winning. So, but and fair play to them for trying, because they could have just kept defending. But I thought it was a good game to watch, even though they did lose. But
very good. I was impressed. Fair play. Marvellous. Any plans the weekend, Stevie?
No, quite one.
Any good TV worth watching?
No, there's a couple of good films on this. There's a new film on Netflix. I'm a bit of a Ryan Reynolds fan. Apparently that's supposed to be fantastic, but no, other than that, I'm going to see Batman in the cinema this week. Apparently that's supposed to be, it's like 3 hours long. It's very long.
Oh, sod that. Why is it so long? We know the story of Batman. Make it shorter.
Do you know what, though? The Christine Bale, the last 3 Batmans, which were obviously a long time ago, they were brilliant. So,
were they?
Oh, yeah, they were. Yeah.
I don't think I watched any of them.
Oh, the Christine Bale, like the trilogy.
I thought you meant Gareth Bale then. Gareth Bale's head of my face. Is he doing that? Is he? Yeah.
Yeah. No, they were brilliant. Those Batman, because they went for a run with some of the Batman movies, which are rubbish. It's the one with Heath Ledger in. He was in one of the trilogy ones. Brilliant films. Brilliant films.
Do I discover this week? Right. In fact, I'll finish off on a story about my mother, which is quite funny, I think. But you've got to laugh. It's not funny, but it's funny. I did realize the Soham murders, Jessica and Holly. Remember that guy Ian Huntley who denied he was helping the police, wasn't he? He's giving interviews and all that stuff. He was the guy that killed the 2 girls, took them into the forest there and buried them. But the forensic, we watched it on Channel 5 because my father said, "Oh, have a look at this." He said, "Because this is my sister. It's not my sister." He said, "My cousin," but we were like brother sister. I said, "What do you mean?" The lady who just get dragged in as a forensic psychologist is my father's cousin. And they're like brother sister, and she's on the Channel 5. Look at the Soham murders. There's a Welsh lady in there, right? She's the one discovered where the bodies were basically, and she's done all the major murders from the Ipswich thing, all of them. They always call her on the phone, and she's a forensic psychologist. Basically, she's like the real people they put dramas, around those kind of people like that, But she walked into the forest and she saw. In all the hedgerows, they looked at the mud on the tyres, all that stuff. So this mud come from this area. It's amazing. She got this spreadsheet with dots on it, and she works on probability, which is like anything in life. But she went in there and said, "Oh, look at that! Those brambles are growing in a different way to those brambles." I said, "Well, how did you know that?" So you can see it's a bit of a different area there. She went in there and saw a bit of blonde hair on a twig.
Wow!
And they said, "Wow!" See, so I saw that. I said, "Oh, that's blonde hair." So they bagged it. And it was, one of the blonde girl there, Jessica Holly, and it's an amazing job to have. But I mean, she's in it. I didn't realise that's my father's, cousin, but they were like brother sister growing up. But phenomenal. She's got books out and everything. But that's a phenomenally interesting job, that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an interesting fact that you've randomly come out.
Yeah, but no, I said about my mother yesterday. My mother now is obviously got dementia. She's in her home. My father brings her out. In fact, we went up there last week when the Porthcawl.
Have you found her home now again?
Yeah. I went to Porthcawl. Took her out last week. Porthcawl and fish and chips and all that stuff on the fairground. But it's funny. But my father took her out this week. Right now, this is always bad for someone with dementia. Merrill, one of my best friends, sadly died. right? She took her to a funeral.
God.
And Bill, the husband of Meryl who died, was in bits. He was crying and all that stuff. My mother kept asking, where's Meryl, Bill?
Oh, no.
She's in the boxcar. What? What? Oh, sorry to hear that, Bill. I'm very sorry to hear that. Then you go to the pub. Where's Meryl, Bill?
Oh, God.
She's passed away, okay. This is her wake. Oh, right. Oh, sorry to hear that, Bill. And literally, she's constant. And he said, fair play. He said, don't worry, Care. We all forget sometimes. He said, and he said, on the plus, and he was in bits. He said, on the plus side, though, I'm single now, Care. He said, oh, you saucy devil. And yet, and my father's telling everyone, don't give my mother too many glasses of wine. She's walking around the pub there, not recognising people, and first thing she said to me, oh, yeah, you can give me a glass of wine if you want. And literally, my father's got to talking to other people, and every time she sees her, she's got a glass of wine in her hand. He said her maximum is 1 glass. She had like 4 and went to bed at 5 p.m. So, there we are. But anyway, she's it's with dementia, it's like that, isn't it? It doesn't really bother her too much. It's everyone around her, so...
Yeah.
It's not a bad way to sort of end up. You're not really caring about anything. Imagine I'd love to have dementia, just being active on the stock market. When I'm older, you'd
have no money at all, or loads of money. You're going either way.
Yeah, it would be either way, wouldn't it? I'm going to invest in that. You did yesterday. You've invested in 15 times, have I?
At least when a bad RNS comes out, you're like, oh, I'll forget about that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll forget about that. And they had a bad RNS, didn't they? Did they?
I got a bit more money in.
Yeah. Marvellous. Steve, thanks out, fella. Speak you next week.
See you, bye.
The Share Pickers Weekend Podcast with Justin, Paddy, Peter and Steve. The content of this podcast is not intended as investment advice. It is for information purposes only. People in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.